More on that story. I'm joined by two very important guests and two people who really have a hold on the subject. Joining us now is Maithili Busnurmat, our consulting editor at ET Now, and also Dr. Charan Singh, the chief executive at EGROW Foundation. Mr. Singh, let me first come to you. Thanks for taking your time out and speaking to us. You've been talking about this issue for a long time. You've in fact even written an article very recently criticizing the methodology that Arvind Subramanian has used while coming out with that paper that talks about overestimation in GDP by almost about 2.5%. But we understand, while we take that point that Arvind Subramanian's method of calculating GDP might be flawed, why has this, concern really been flared up? Would you say there's there's no smoke without fire here?
Look, that paper which Arvind Subramanian has released from the Kennedy School of Government, CID Working Paper 354, the issue is that some of the discussion that is the crux of that paper has already been done in the economic survey for 2017. So I see no reason why that was raked up again. Secondly, I also am surprised in 2015 when the data was released with 2011 as the base. IMF team had come and really there's a hue and cry within the country, and IMF team came and studied and said this is perfectly all right. The methodology has been modernized. It should have been updated, and it has now been updated, and this is perfect. Now, going back after serving as the CA of the country and knowing very well that the statisticians and the economists do elaborate work, there's an army of these people working both in the CSO and the government, in the ministry, and then you rubbish it and say that I'm going to use 4 indicators and I'm going to say this is how the growth should be projected. This is amazing. I'm really surprised. And this is not only hurting the morale of the people who work, it is also inappropriate. And that is what I have argued in my article, and that is what the ESC PM, what have they released today. They have discussed about the methodology, they have discussed about the elaborate things that the GDP estimates demand, and then they said that there was no need to elongate or prolong that discussion that had happened in the economic survey earlier.
Dr. Singh, I have a follow-up question on that before I take it across to Maithili. I was interviewing the RBI Deputy Governor Rakesh Mohan, who also expressed similar concerns. I understand, that the timing of this entire debate is, of course, something that's in question. But he did talk about, Rakesh Mohan did talk about how there are inconsistencies on the manufacturing side that are staring you in the face. How would you look to explain that?
Look, this is again very, very interesting. Manufacturing is part of the industry, and industry only accounts for about 22% of India's GDP. Agriculture is there, which is also accounting for about 22 to 24% of GDP, agriculture and allied activities. And then services are there, which account for 60% of GDP. Now, there could be some problem in the manufacturing. I'm not denying it. There's huge amount of unorganized sector. And capturing that is not easy in any country of the world, especially in an emerging country like India, where data collection and data processing is difficult. And sometimes, because there is so much of the unaccounted economy, inorganized as well as the unaccounted economy, there is a probability that some part of manufacturing is not being captured or is being wrongly captured. That's a very, very normal thing and not unique to India. Similarly in agriculture, similarly in services. So making a hue and cry that there is something happening in manufacturing and we should have done it better, why not? There is always scope for improvement. The revision of GDP basis is a regular feature in all countries of the world, advanced and emerging, even in the USA. So that is not a big deal. Revisions are common, revisions have to be done. The activities change, the processes change, the data collection changes. In a country like India, even formalization, monetization of the economy is happening. So it is obvious that we will be revising our business, but isolating and saying that because these correlations are not working with manufacturing, manufacturing. Therefore, the
Right.
whole data set on GDP is faulty. It's overstretching the point.
Maitli, let me take that point across with you. We were discussing the same issue on the 8 p.m. show, India Tonight, a few days ago as well. I think last week when the PMEAC came out with their first set of rebuttals. And now a detailed one that we're looking at. Charan Singh here is saying that there is no need for a hue and cry. There is, of course, scope for improvement. But how are you looking at this argument the PMEAC is putting forth that Arvind Subramanian's paper only, is cherry picking data? It is focusing only on manufacturing rather than the other important sectors like services as well as agriculture.
Well, Ruchi, as I mentioned earlier, Arvind's paper is a very shoddy paper, and to call it a research paper, and that too from Harvard, does no justice either to Arvind's caliber or to Harvard, frankly. And I couldn't agree more with Dr. Charan Singh. In fact, all I can say is point to my former editor Swaminathan Iyer's Swaminathan's column in the Times of India last Sunday, where he says, in conclusion, he says that, Arvind Subramanian, the journalist in Arvind, has overtaken the economist. And with apologies to my tribe and Swami's tribe of journalists, I think no self-respecting journalist would have done something like this. If he had said the columnist in Arvind Subramanian has overtaken the economist, I could have accepted it. But I don't think any journalist would have done something, would have ventured, in fact, to replicate something like a GDP estimation, which, mind you, is an estimation. And as the PMEAC says, it is an imperfect art. We must remember it is not a science. All over the world, it is an estimation, which is why in many countries, it undergoes revisions over and over again. So Arvind's paper really does not have the rigor of a research paper, and frankly, he should never have attempted it. So it's good that the PMEAC has come out with a point-by-point rebuttal. And incidentally, Ruchi, Surjit Bhalla, who actually stepped down from the PMEAC, is a party to this note. So I think clearly Arvind has really got egg on his face. I wish he had not done it, because he had done some very good work as the AAC, and this takes away greatly from his credibility. Last but not the least, he uses CMI data. And as someone who has personally used the CMI data, there is much that is lacking in the CMI data. It is not a primary source of data, and there are many errors as is inevitable in a data source of that magnitude. So I think Arvind really fell short on many counts, and it's good that the PMEAC has come out like this. I wish they had done this earlier.
All right, those are very strong words coming in from Maithili. But Maithili, as they say, if you twist the data, it may just agree and talk about anything. It will give you any kind of conclusion that you would want to. But Dr. Singh, let me come to you. What does the government now need to do to improve the quality of data? That, of course, has become a contentious issue here. You yourself are talking about how there is a need to perhaps relook at the data. This is still work in progress. What is it that the government now will look to do?
No, I must clarify. India's data, India's statistics, and India's statisticians are respected world over. I have clearly said, India is not a banana republic. India is not China. Our data is robust, is solid. As in other countries, as in most advanced countries, every few years there's a data revision and there is a methodology revision. We will also do that. As in an emerging country like ours, as computerization increases, probably much more better data and much more timely data will start coming in. So when we revise our series as and when it is to be done, that will be capturing it. So not at all. I have never doubted India's data, and I have worked both at the Reserve Bank in data collection processes and at the IMF evaluating the research of the world. I can vouch and say India's
Dr. Singh, I'm very short on time here. Dr. Singh, I'm very short on time here. I have to ask you, would you say if there is still some bit of a perception crisis here? This issue, this is definitely not the last that we've heard on this issue. This issue has been raised time and again for the last 6 to 8 months.
Well, see, there is some data on MCA which has to be released, which probably will be released as time comes by. But I don't think there is any doubt in mind of people who have worked with the government or who have worked with the data in India or globally. India's data is the best and most respected. And anybody who has a doubt in it is not doing the right thing. He needs to revisit and do rigorous work before casting any doubt on India's statistics.
Maithili, before I let you go, I have to ask you, so much talk and discussion happening about what the real number is in terms of GDP. How does it really play on the minds of policy makers? Because I've been speaking to a lot of people, and this does raise some bit of a question. Would you say this would hamper some of the ability in terms of policy making as well?
Well, Ruchi, very quickly, I just want to disagree with Dr. Charan Singh when he says our data is the best. I don't think it's the best. It's certainly better than what it was before. There is enormous scope for improvement, and this is a work in progress. As far as policy making is concerned, yes, it does hamper policy making, because if we don't have the right numbers, then the entire policy is based on what the numbers tell you. So when if the economy was slowing, maybe it needed a stimulus. Whereas if the economy was going very rapidly, maybe we needed to put on the brakes. So good data is sacrosanct to good policy making, which is why we need to ensure that our data keeps improving, and whatever doubts there are about its credibility are quickly dismissed, and the PMAACU or other technical bodies should come out and have a discussion and also ensure that there is no doubt whatsoever on the quality of our data, constant improvement, and the best part is there should be no question of motivation. That is what is very important. I think that rigor in methodology, rigor in collection, and we need to put more resources into ensuring that our statistics are the best.
All right, good data is equal to good policy making. That's what Maithili is saying. But on that note, Dr. Charan Singh as well as Maithili, many thanks for taking your time out, speaking to us on this very important subject. All right, time to shift focus.